My name is Francesca Bennett. I'm 34 years old. 3 weeks before Thanksgiving, my mother sent me a text that changed everything. It read, "We don't want you asking for money in front of everyone. Stay home this year." I stared at my phone for a full minute. Then I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because my bank account held $4.7 million. My family had decided I was broke. They didn't ask. They assumed. And they uninvited me from Thanksgiving to protect themselves from embarrassment. So I did something I'd never done before. I stopped explaining. I sent one screenshot. Then I booked a private jet to Dubai. What happened next? Let's just say the family group chat had 47 unread messages by the time I landed. Before I continue, please take a moment to like and subscribe, but only if you truly enjoy this story. Drop your location and local time in the comments below. It started 8 years ago, the day I decided to stop asking for permission. 8 years ago, I was 26 and terrified. I just quit my stable accounting job to flip houses. My first deal, a duplex in Aurora, had closed that morning. After repairs and fees, I'd cleared $40,000 in profit. That night, I drove to my parents' house for our weekly family dinner. I couldn't wait to share the news. Karen arrived first, as always. My older sister by 3 years, she walked in wearing a cashmere wrap and a smile that could cut glass. Her husband Derek followed, jingling his BMW keys. "Mom, Dad, look what Derek surprised me with," Karen said, pulling out her phone to show photos. "The new X5. Isn't it gorgeous?" My mother clasped her hands together. "Oh, sweetheart. Derek, you spoil her. That's what a good husband does." Dad nodded from behind his newspaper. Derek shrugged modestly. I waited for the excitement to settle. Then I cleared my throat. "I have news too," I said. "I closed on my first property today, made $40,000 profit." The table went quiet, but not the impressed kind of quiet. Mom tilted her head. "That's nice, honey. But when are you going to get a real job? One with benefits?" Karen sipped her wine. "Real estate is so risky. Derek says the market could crash any day now." Derek said nothing. He just studied his fork. Dad turned a page of his newspaper. He didn't look up. I felt something shrink inside my chest. Something I'd been carrying my whole life without realizing it. Hope that they'd finally see me. That night, I stopped talking about my wins at family dinners. They didn't want to hear them, and I learned to build my empire in silence. But silence, I would discover, has its limits. 3 years ago, I arrived at my parents' house early on Christmas Day. I wanted to help Mom prepare the ham, set the table, be useful. I was 31, single, and still trying to earn my place. The doorbell rang throughout the afternoon. Aunt Linda swept in wearing diamonds. Uncle Mike brought his famous pie. Cousins, spouses, and children filled the living room with noise and warmth. When Mom announced dinner, I moved toward the dining room. That's when I noticed. There were 12 chairs at the main table, 12 place cards. I scanned the names. Patricia, Robert, Karen, Derek, Aunt Linda, Uncle Mike, Amanda and her husband, 2 more cousins and their spouses. My name wasn't there. "Mom?" I touched her elbow. "Where am I sitting?" She barely glanced up from arranging the centerpiece. "Oh, sweetie, you don't mind the kids' table, do you? We're short on chairs." I looked across the room. The kids' table. 4 children between 8 and 12 years old, fighting over crayons. "I'm 31, I said quietly. "It's just for one meal." She patted my arm and walked away. I sat down between my nephew and a girl who immediately spilled juice on my dress. From my plastic chair, I watched the adults clink wine glasses and laugh at jokes I couldn't hear. That's when I caught Aunt Linda leaning toward my mother, her whisper carried across the room. "Still no ring? Poor thing. At least she has her little apartment." My mother nodded sympathetically. They didn't know I'd closed on my 15th property that month. They didn't know my net worth had just crossed $1 million. To them, I was still the unmarried daughter who couldn't find a husband. And I sat there, smiled, said nothing. That's what I always did. 3 weeks before this past Thanksgiving, I was in my apartment reviewing contracts. A penthouse in Cherry Creek had caught my attention. Solid bones, motivated seller, easy flip. My laptop showed projections, 200,000 profit minimum. My phone buzzed, then buzzed again. I glanced at the screen. Group chat. Bennett Thanksgiving 2024. Mom's name appeared first. Fran, honey, we've been talking and we think it's best if you sit this one out. I set down my coffee. Read it again. Sit this one out? My thumbs moved before my brain caught up. What do you mean? 3 dots appeared. Then her response. We heard you're going through a rough patch financially. We don't want you asking for money in front of everyone. It would be embarrassing for all of us. I stared at those words until they blurred. Embarrassing. For all of us. I looked around my apartment. Simple. Clean. A 1-bedroom in a modest building because I chose to invest my money, not display it. My Honda sat in the parking lot because reliable transportation didn't require a statement. Then I looked at my laptop. At the portfolio spreadsheet still glowing on the screen. 12 properties, 3 commercial buildings, total net worth, $4.7 million. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. My family had decided I was broke. Not because they'd asked, not because I'd told them. They'd assumed, based on my car, my apartment, my refusal to broadcast my life. And they'd uninvited me from Thanksgiving to protect themselves from shame. I closed the laptop. The penthouse deal could wait. For the first time in 34 years, I felt something shift inside me. Not anger, something colder, something clearer. I needed to call Megan. That night, sleep refused to come. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, running scenarios through my mind. What if I just accepted it? What if I let them believe their story? The math was simple. If I stayed silent, my family would spend Thanksgiving pitying poor Francesca. Aunt Linda would offer prayers between bites of turkey. Uncle Mike might pass around a hat. Karen would shake her head sadly while cutting into her pie. The story would spread. By Christmas, every distant relative would know that Patricia's youngest daughter had failed. Couldn't hold down a job, probably living on food stamps. Such a shame. And I'd keep showing up, keep smiling, keep sitting at the kids' table while they discussed my life in whispers. I grabbed my phone and called Megan at 11 p.m. She answered on the second ring. This better be good. They uninvited me from Thanksgiving. They think I'm broke. A pause, then a sharp laugh. You're kidding. Mom said they don't want me asking for money in front of everyone. Fran, you have $4.7 million. You have a NetJets membership. And you're asking me if you should explain yourself to people who didn't even call to check if you were okay? I pressed my palm against my forehead. It's not about proving them wrong. It's about, I don't know, closure? Then give yourself closure. Her voice softened. Not them. You've been proving yourself to these people your whole life. When are you going to stop? I didn't have an answer. Maybe don't prove anything, she continued. Just show them, once, and then walk away. I hung up and stared at the ceiling again. By morning, I'd made a decision. I wasn't going to explain anymore. The truth would speak for itself. The next morning, my phone buzzed with a private message. Karen. Hey, hope you're not mad about the Thanksgiving thing. I poured my coffee slowly, watching steam rise from the mug. Took my time responding. Why would I be mad? Her reply came fast. I mean, it's for the best. You don't want to be around when Uncle Mike starts asking about everyone's 401k, right? I set down the mug. I don't have a 401k. I have investment properties. 3 laughing emojis appeared. Then, LOL, sure. Look, just focus on getting back on your feet. Maybe find a stable job. My jaw tightened. Derek mentioned there's an opening at his office, she continued. Receptionist position, benefits included. Want me to put in a word? Receptionist. My sister, whose husband I could buy out 3 times over, was offering me a receptionist job at a dental office. I typed and deleted several responses. Finally settled on, "Thanks, I'll think about it." "Great, just trying to help here. You know I worry about you." She worried about me. The way someone worries about a stray cat. With pity, not respect. I closed the message thread and opened my portfolio app instead. The numbers stared back at me. 12 properties, 3.2 million in equity, 1.5 in liquid cash, quarterly dividends arriving next week. Karen lived in a 4,000 square foot house her husband's parents helped them buy. She drove a leased SUV. She measured success in square footage and carats. She had no idea what I'd built. And that was fine. Until now. Now her pity felt like a splinter under my skin. "I'm trying to help," she'd said. No. She was trying to keep me small. And I'd spent my whole life letting her. Not anymore. I needed to know where this started. That afternoon, I texted Sophie, Aunt Linda's 20-year-old daughter. We'd always gotten along. She was young enough to be careless with secrets. "Hey, Soph. Random question. Did anyone mention why I'm not coming to Thanksgiving?" Her response came quickly. "OMG, Fran, I felt so bad when I heard. Are you okay?" I typed carefully. "What exactly did you hear?" "Just that you're really struggling? Aunt Patricia said Karen told my mom you were basically broke. Like behind on rent broke." My hand froze over the screen. Karen. My own sister. "What else did Karen say?" "Something about how you're still in that tiny apartment and driving an old car, and how you never have money for nice things. IDK the details, but my mom told your mom, and then, yeah." I read the messages 3 times. Karen had started the rumor. She'd looked at my modest apartment, my reliable car, my quiet life, and decided I was failing. Then she'd told Aunt Linda, knowing it would spread through the family like wildfire, and Mom had believed it, without a single phone call to ask me directly. "I'm sorry, Fran," Sophie added. "I thought you knew." "I didn't, but now I do." I set down my phone and walked to my window. Denver's skyline glittered in the afternoon sun. My apartment was small because I chose to invest in buildings instead of living rooms. My car was old because depreciation is a waste of capital. But Karen didn't see strategy. She saw failure. And she'd broadcast that failure to everyone we knew. This wasn't about protecting the family from embarrassment. This was about protecting Karen from having to share the spotlight, and she'd used our mother to do it. I called my mother that evening. She answered on the 4th ring. "Fran, I was just thinking about you." "Mom, I need to ask you something." I kept my voice steady. "Why do you think I'm struggling financially?" A pause, then that tone, the one she used when she thought she knew better. "Honey, it's okay. We all go through rough patches. There's no shame in it." "But who told you that?" "Does it matter? The point is, we're looking out for you. By uninviting me from Thanksgiving?" I heard her sigh through the phone. "Fran, we're protecting the family's image. Aunt Linda will be there. You know how she talks." There it was. Aunt Linda. The real reason. "So you're embarrassed of me?" "I didn't say that." "You didn't have to." Silence stretched between us. I could picture her in the kitchen, gripping her phone, formulating excuses. "You're overreacting," she finally said. "Just take this year off. We'll see you at Christmas." "Did you ever think to call me? To ask me directly if I was okay?" Karen said. Karen assumed. And you believed her without a single question. "Francesca, I don't appreciate your tone. And I don't appreciate being cut from Thanksgiving dinner based on gossip." My voice stayed calm, but my hands trembled. "I'm your daughter, Mom, not a liability to be managed." The line went dead. She'd hung up on me. My own mother had hung up rather than admit she might be wrong. I stood in my kitchen, phone pressed against my chest, heart hammering. Something shifted inside me. A door closing. A decision forming. I was done explaining. Done begging for seats at tables that never wanted me there. It was time to let the truth speak. I met Megan for lunch the next day at our usual spot, a quiet bistro downtown where lawyers cut deals and no one eavesdropped. She was already at the table when I arrived, laptop open, reading glasses perched on her nose. Megan Torres had been my best friend since college and my real estate attorney for the past 6 years. She knew my portfolio better than I did. So they think you're broke. She didn't look up from her screen. Apparently, I slid into the booth across from her. She turned the laptop toward me. Let's review, shall we? The spreadsheet filled the screen. 12 properties listed in neat rows, 3 commercial buildings in growing neighborhoods, 9 residential units, all currently rented. Purchase prices, current values, rental income, net worth calculations. Total portfolio value 6.2 million, Megan read aloud. Outstanding debt 1.5 million, net worth 4.7 million. She looked at me over her glasses. Girl, you could buy Karen's house in cash and still have enough left for a yacht. I laughed for the first time in days. It felt rusty coming out. They'll never believe it, I said. Not unless they see it. Then let them see it. She closed the laptop. I've watched you build this for 8 years, Fran. You never once asked for validation. But maybe it's time you stop letting them think the worst. It feels like giving in. No, it feels like standing up. She leaned forward. What are you going to do? I stared at the table, at my hands, at the simple gold ring I'd bought myself when I closed my 10th property. I have an idea, I said quietly. Megan smiled. I was hoping you'd say that. That afternoon, I sat on my couch with my phone in hand. The NetJets app glowed on the screen. I'd had a membership for 2 years, mostly for business trips to out-of-state markets. Dallas, Phoenix, Nashville. Quick flights to meet sellers and close deals. I'd never used it for personal travel. It felt indulgent, unnecessary. But today, I scrolled through destinations with different eyes. Cabo, Aspen, the Maldives, Dubai. The Thanksgiving package caught my attention. 5 nights at the Burj Al Arab, available seats on Wednesday departures. I checked the timing. The flight would leave 25 hours before my family sat down for turkey. My thumb hovered over the booking button. This wasn't about luxury. It wasn't about proving anything. It was about choosing myself for once. I booked the flight. Confirmation email arrived within seconds. I screenshotted it. The date, the destination, the private terminal departure, all documented. Then I opened my banking app. The number stared back at me. $4,723,841 if sick. I screenshotted that too. 2 images. 8 years of silent work. Everything they refused to believe existed. I pulled up my mother's text from 3 weeks ago. The words still stung. We don't want you asking for money in front of everyone. I looked at the screenshots again. I didn't need to explain. I didn't need to justify. I just needed them to see. Megan's voice echoed in my head. Give yourself closure. Not them. This wasn't revenge. This was clarity. The kind that comes from finally stopping the performance. I saved both screenshots to a folder labeled Thanksgiving. Everything I needed was ready. Now I just had to decide when to press send. Okay, pause for a second. I need to ask you something. If you were in my position, your family just uninvited you based on a lie, and you had proof that could change everything, would you send it? Or would you stay quiet to keep the peace? Drop your answer in the comments. I'm genuinely curious what you'd do. Now, back to what happened next. 5 days before Thanksgiving, my phone started buzzing with unfamiliar numbers. First, a text from Uncle Mike, Dad's younger brother. We hadn't spoken one-on-one in years. Hey, kiddo. Heard you're going through a tough time. If you need a few hundred to get by, just let me know. No shame in asking. My stomach dropped. Then came a message from my cousin Amanda. Fran! OMG, I feel terrible. We should totally start a GoFundMe for you. Family helps family. A GoFundMe. My 23-year-old cousin wanted to start a charity campaign for me. The messages kept coming. Aunt Linda sent a link to an article titled Financial Literacy for Young Adults, a Beginner's Guide. No caption, just the link. Another cousin I barely knew texted, praying for you during this difficult season. In 3 days, I'd gone from uninvited guest to family charity case. The rumor had spread through the Bennett family tree like poison through roots. Everyone knew. Everyone pitied. No one had bothered to ask me directly. I sat on my bed and scrolled through the messages, the offers of help, the resources for people in crisis, the prayers and heart emojis and empty sympathies. They weren't reaching out because they cared. They were reaching out because the story was too juicy not to engage with. Poor Francesca. Couldn't make it work. Probably eating ramen in some dingy apartment. Such a shame. I closed the messages without responding. Then I did something I rarely did anymore. I called my father. The phone rang 4 times. I almost hung up. Then his voice came through, tired and hesitant. Fran, is everything okay? Dad, I said quietly, we need to talk. Dad, do you believe I'm struggling financially? The question hung in the air. I could hear him breathing through the phone, slow and measured. I don't know, honey. He cleared his throat. Your mother said Karen mentioned, did you ever think to ask me yourself? Silence. The kind that answered before words could. You know how your mother is, he finally said. When she gets an idea in her head. I'm not asking about Mom. My voice stayed level, though my hands shook. I'm asking about you. Did you ever wonder if it was true? Did you ever think to pick up the phone? More silence. I just want everyone to get along, Fran. You know that. Even if that means I get thrown under the bus? Don't be dramatic. Something cracked inside me, not anger, something sadder. Disappointment so old it had fossilized into acceptance. I'm not being dramatic, Dad. I'm being uninvited from Thanksgiving dinner because of a lie. A lie you chose not to question. What do you want me to do? His voice rose, then fell. Your mother makes these decisions. I can't. You could have defended me. You could have said, let's call Fran and ask. You didn't. He had no answer for that. I have to go, I said. Fran, wait. I hung up. The phone felt heavy in my hand. I set it face down on the table and stared at the wall. My father wasn't cruel. He wasn't malicious. He was just absent. A man who'd made peace his priority at any cost. And I had always been the cost. For the first time, I saw it clearly. Dad wasn't neutral. He was complicit. The screenshots arrived at 9 p.m. Sophie had been added to the main family group chat, the one called Bennett Family, Adults Only, the one I apparently didn't qualify for. I probably shouldn't show you this, she texted, but you deserve to know what they're saying. I opened the images with cold fingers. Karen had written, I feel bad for her, but honestly, it's for the best. She'd just make everyone uncomfortable. My mother replied, agreed. At least this way we can enjoy the meal. Aunt Linda, at least she won't be asking us for loans at the table. LOL. Uncle Mike, should we chip in and send her a gift card? Maybe Whole Foods or something? Karen again. That's sweet. I'll organize it. A gift card. They were organizing a charity gift card for me. Like I was a struggling neighbor they barely knew. Like I was someone to be managed rather than included. I read the messages again, then again. They weren't protecting me from embarrassment. They were laughing at me, planning how to handle the Fran situation like I was a problem to be solved. My phone rang. Megan's name flashed on the screen. Did you see it? She asked. Yeah. So what now? I walked to my window. The city lights stretched toward the mountains. Somewhere out there, my family was drafting gift card contributions for a millionaire. Now I send my own screenshot. Are you sure? I thought about the kids' table, the dismissive comments, the years of silence, the rumor my own sister had started. I've never been more sure of anything. When? I looked at the calendar on my wall. Thanksgiving was 6 days away. The moment they sit down for dinner, 24 hours before Thanksgiving. I packed my suitcase with steady hands, bikinis, evening dresses, sunscreen. My passport sat on top, ready. Megan arrived at noon to drive me to the private terminal. You sure about this? She watched me zip the luggage closed. I'm not doing this to hurt them. I met her eyes. I'm doing this to free myself. And the screenshots? I'll send them at exactly 6 p.m. tomorrow, right when they're sitting down for turkey. She laughed despite herself. That's cold, Fran. It's not revenge. I grabbed my carry-on. It's clarity. The kind they've refused to see for 34 years. We drove to Centennial Airport in comfortable silence. The private terminal gleamed white against the gray November sky. No lines, no crowds. Just a woman at the desk who smiled and checked my booking. Ms. Bennett, your flight to Dubai is ready for boarding. I hugged Megan at the security point. Call me when you land, she said. I will. And Fran? She gripped my shoulders. You're not doing anything wrong. Remember that. I nodded and walked through the doors. The jet sat on the tarmac, small, sleek, waiting. A flight attendant greeted me at the stairs. Inside, leather seats gleamed under soft lighting. A glass of champagne appeared before I'd even buckled in. I sank into the seat and looked out the window. Denver disappeared beneath the clouds. My phone sat heavy in my pocket, loaded with screenshots. 25 hours of flying. 25 hours until my family discovered exactly how wrong they'd been. I sipped the champagne. For the first time in weeks, I felt something besides anger or hurt. I felt free. And somewhere over the Atlantic, my phone would finally do the talking I'd been avoiding for years. The plane's Wi-Fi connected somewhere over the Atlantic. I'd set an alarm on my phone. 6 p.m. Eastern Time. The exact moment my family would be gathering around the dining table. Grace would be said. Plates would be filled. Karen would probably be bragging about something. The alarm chimed softly. I opened the group chat. Bennett Thanksgiving 2024. 32 members. All waiting for turkey and stuffing and the comfortable certainty that Francesca was falling apart. I didn't type a message, didn't explain, didn't justify. I simply attached two images. The first, my bank account statement. 4,723. Clear as crystal. The second, my flight confirmation. Private jet. Destination, Dubai. Departure, yesterday. Then, one line of text. Happy Thanksgiving. I'll be thinking of you all from Dubai. I pressed send. The message delivered. 32 blue check marks appeared. I imagined my mother's phone buzzing beside her dinner plate, Karen glancing at the notification, Aunt Linda leaning over to see what the commotion was about. I imagined the silence that would fall over that dining room. Then I turned off notifications. The flight attendant appeared at my side. More champagne, Ms. Bennett? Please. She refilled my glass with a practiced pour. Outside the window, the sun was setting over endless clouds, pink and gold and completely peaceful. I leaned back into the leather seat. I didn't need them to apologize. I didn't need them to grovel or beg for forgiveness. I just needed them to know, to see the truth they'd refused to ask about. Whatever storm was brewing back home could wait. For now, I was 35,000 feet in the air, heading toward warmth and light and the first holiday I'd ever chosen for myself. And it felt exactly right. 2 hours later, I turned my phone back on. The notifications loaded in waves. 47 missed calls, 89 unread texts. The phone actually felt warmer in my hand, like it had been working overtime to contain the chaos. I opened the group chat first. Karen. What the hell is this? Mom. Fran, call me right now. Uncle Mike. Is this real? Aunt Linda. $4 million? Amanda. OMG, wait, I offered to start a GoFundMe. Dad. Fran, please pick up. Karen again. Why didn't you tell us? Mom. This is a joke, right? This has to be a joke. Aunt Linda. Someone call her. Someone needs to call her now. The messages spiraled from there. Confusion, disbelief, exclamation points multiplying like rabbits. I switched to my private messages. Karen. Why didn't you tell us? I don't understand. Mom. Fran, this is cruel. How could you hide this from your own family? Aunt Linda. Sweetheart, we should catch up soon. I have some investment opportunities I'd love to discuss with you. Sophie. Fran, you're a legend. I read every message. The shock, the anger, the sudden, desperate friendliness from people who'd laughed about sending me gift cards just days ago. Not one message said, "We're sorry." Not one said, "We should have asked." Instead, they blamed me for hiding it, for not telling them, for making them feel foolish. Even now, they couldn't see it. I closed my phone and looked out the window. We were halfway across the world now. Below, the Atlantic stretched endlessly, dark and calm and completely indifferent to family drama. I finished my champagne. The messages could wait. The explanations they wanted weren't coming. I'd shown them the truth. What they did with it was no longer my concern. I saved the voicemails for last. Settling deeper into my seat, I pressed play on the first one. Mom's voice filled my ears, thick with tears and something sharper beneath them. Fran, baby, why are you doing this to me? On Thanksgiving? You're embarrassing me in front of the whole family. Call me back, please. This isn't funny. To her, she'd made it about herself within 30 seconds. I pressed next. Karen's voice came through, tight with anger. You could have just told us. We would have. She trailed off, unable to finish the sentence. Because what would they have done differently? She didn't know. Neither did I. Next voicemail. Dad, quieter than the others. Fran, it's Dad. Just call me. Please. A long pause. I'm sorry. That one I listened to twice. Next, Uncle Mike, awkward and stammering. Hey, kiddo, about that gift card thing. Forget I said anything. Hope you're doing okay. Great, actually. Sounds like you're doing great. Finally, Aunt Linda. Her voice had transformed completely, sugar-sweet where it had been condescending before. Sweetie, I've been meaning to call you for months. We really should catch up. I have some wonderful investment opportunities. Call me when you land. I closed my eyes. The pattern was so clear now. Pity had transformed into desperation, dismissal into sudden interest. They didn't want to reconnect. They wanted access. A memory surfaced unbidden. My grandmother, 5 years gone now, holding my hands in her kitchen. Never let anyone make you feel small, baby, not even family. She'd been the only one who ever truly saw me. I opened my eyes. The clouds glowed orange with approaching sunrise. Grandma would have been proud, and that was enough. The wheels touched down in Dubai at sunset. Golden light spilled across the tarmac as I stepped off the plane. The air hit me first, warm and dry, scented with something unfamiliar and wonderful. A driver waited at the bottom of the stairs, holding a sign with my name. Ms. Bennett, welcome to Dubai. Your car is ready. The city revealed itself through tinted windows. Glass towers rose like miracles from the desert. The Burj Khalifa pierced the evening sky, its lights just beginning to flicker on. My phone buzzed continuously in my bag. I didn't look at it. The hotel lobby was marble and gold and overwhelmingly quiet. A manager greeted me personally, guiding me to a private elevator. You're sweet, Ms. Bennett. Please let us know if you need anything at all. The doors opened to a view that stopped my breath. Floor-to-ceiling windows, the Arabian Gulf spreading silver in the last light, the entire city glittering below like scattered diamonds. I walked to the balcony and stood there, letting the warm breeze wash over me. My phone buzzed again. Another call, another voicemail adding to the pile. I didn't answer. Instead, I ordered room service, turkey with cranberry sauce, mashed potatoes, pumpkin pie, a Thanksgiving meal for one, delivered on silver platters. I ate at a small table by the window, watching the Burj Khalifa put on its nightly light show. Alone, but not lonely. For the first time in 34 years, I wasn't performing for anyone, wasn't proving anything, wasn't waiting to be seen by people who refused to look. This was my Thanksgiving, chosen by me, for me. And it tasted better than any family dinner I could remember. The messages could wait until tomorrow. Tonight, I was exactly where I belonged. Quick question before we continue. Karen just found out her little sister is worth $4.7 million. If you were Karen right now, what would you be feeling? Shame? Jealousy? Regret? I want to know your honest answer. Comment below. And hey, if you're still with me, that subscribe button would mean the world. Now here's what happened when the calls kept coming. Day 2 in Dubai. I sat by the infinity pool, laptop open, morning sun warming my shoulders. The portfolio spreadsheet glowed on screen, a reminder that work continued regardless of family drama. But my phone sat beside me, heavy with unanswered messages. I decided to respond to exactly one person, just one. I picked up the phone and typed a text to my father. Dad, I'm okay. I'm in Dubai. I'll be home next week. I paused, fingers hovering. We can talk then if you want, but I need you to understand something. Another pause. This part mattered. I'm not angry. I'm disappointed. You could have asked. You could have defended me. You didn't. I pressed send before I could overthink it. The reply came within minutes. I know. I'm sorry, Fran. I should have. I stared at those words. Read them again. No but, no excuse, no redirect, just acknowledgement. It was the first genuine apology I'd received from anyone in my family, maybe ever. I typed back slowly. We'll talk when I'm back. Then I set the phone face down and looked out at the water. This wasn't forgiveness. Not yet. Maybe not for a long time. But it was something I hadn't expected. A crack in the wall. Dad had always been silent, complicit through inaction. But maybe that silence had been hiding something too. I closed the laptop and walked to the pool's edge. The water was perfectly warm. I slipped in, letting it hold my weight. Above me, the Dubai sky stretched impossibly blue, one conversation down, a family full of them waiting. But for now, this pool, this sun, this moment of peace I'd earned. Everything else could wait its turn. Day 3. Karen's name flashed on my screen, FaceTime request. I hesitated. My finger hovered over the decline button for a full 10 seconds. Then I answered. Her face filled the screen. Red eyes, smudged makeup. She looked like she hadn't slept since Thursday. Why didn't you tell me? I kept my voice level. Would it have mattered? Of course it would have. Her voice cracked. Karen, you told Aunt Linda I was broke. I watched her flinch. You started the rumor. You offered me a receptionist job at your husband's office. Silence stretched between us. The Dubai skyline glittered behind me. I didn't mean it like that. She wiped her eyes. I just said you were still in that apartment and you assumed the worst. Because that's what you wanted to believe. She broke then. Really broke. Tears streaming, shoulders shaking. I'm sorry. I don't know. She took a ragged breath. Maybe I was jealous. The words hung there, unexpected. Jealous of what? I asked. You have everything, Karen. The house, the husband, the life Mom always wanted for both of us. She laughed bitterly through her tears. You have freedom, Fran. I have a mortgage and a marriage that… She stopped herself. That what? Never mind. It's not important. But her face said otherwise. Something was crumbling behind her perfect facade. I softened slightly. Just slightly. We'll talk when I'm home. But not now. I need space. She nodded, tears still falling. Okay. I understand. Karen? Yeah? I don't hate you. But things have to be different now. I know. Her voice was barely a whisper. I know. I ended the call. The mask was cracking, and what lay beneath was more complicated than I'd expected. My mother called the next evening. I answered audio only. I wasn't ready to see her face. Fran, this whole thing has been blown out of proportion. I let the silence stretch. Has it, Mom? I was just trying to protect the family's image. Her voice carried that familiar defensiveness. You know how Aunt Linda talks. One wrong word and it's all over the neighborhood. So you sacrificed me to look good in front of Linda. That's not fair. Neither was uninviting me from Thanksgiving based on a rumor you didn't bother to verify. I heard her sharp intake of breath. Well, you could have told us about your… money. She said the word like it was dirty. If you'd just been open about it. And you could have asked or trusted me. You didn't. I'm your mother. I shouldn't have to ask. You should tell me these things. I stood at my hotel window, watching boats drift across the Gulf. What do you want from me, Fran? Her voice had an edge now. An apology? Fine. I'm sorry you were hurt. There. Happy? The non-apology hung in the air like smoke. I want you to understand something, Mom. I kept my voice steady. I'm done proving myself to people who refuse to see me. So what, you're just going to cut us off? No, but I'm going to start choosing who gets access to my life. And right now, that's not you. Francesca, we'll talk when I'm ready. Goodbye, Mom. I hung up before she could respond. My hands were shaking, but not from fear. That was the first boundary I'd ever set with my mother. And as I stood there, watching the sunset paint Dubai in gold, I knew it wouldn't be the last. My last day in Dubai brought an unexpected message. I was packing when my phone buzzed with a text from Derek, Karen's husband. We'd barely exchanged a dozen words in the 10 years he'd been married to my sister. Fran, this is Derek. Wanted to say, I respect what you did. Couldn't have been easy. I sat down on the bed, surprised. Another message appeared. Also, sorry about the receptionist thing Karen mentioned. She told me after. That was out of line. I typed back, It's okay. You didn't know. His response came quickly. For what it's worth, I always thought you had your stuff together. The way you talk about real estate at family dinners, when anyone bothered to listen, showed you knew what you were doing. I read those words twice. Derek had noticed. While everyone else dismissed my career, he'd actually been paying attention. Thanks, Derek. That means more than you know. Take care, Fran. And if you ever want to talk shop about property investment, I'm looking to diversify, interested in learning more. A smile crossed my face, the first genuine one in days. I'd be happy to chat when I'm back. Looking forward to it. Safe travels. I set down the phone and looked around the suite. The packed suitcase, the unmade bed, the view I'd memorized over 5 days. Not everyone in my family was like my mother and Karen. Some people saw clearly, even when others refused to look. Derek had surprised me. In the middle of all this chaos, he'd shown me something I'd forgotten. Respect could come from unexpected places. The taxi would arrive in an hour, time to go home and face whatever came next. But at least now I knew I wouldn't face it completely alone. Denver welcomed me back with gray skies and cold air. I landed a week after Thanksgiving, jet-lagged, but strangely peaceful. The drive home felt different now, familiar streets seen through new eyes. My apartment was exactly as I'd left it. Same modest furniture, same view of the parking lot. Same Honda in its usual spot. But I wasn't the same. The next morning, I met Megan at her office to review Q4 projections. Work didn't stop for family drama. So how was Dubai? She handed me a coffee. Clarifying, she smiled. And the family? Adjusting. I opened my laptop. Let's focus on the numbers. Business as usual. Or at least that's what I told myself. But something had shifted. Over the following days, I noticed it in small ways. Aunt Linda called to invite me to a holiday dinner party. My response came easily now. No thank you. I have plans. Cousin Amanda texted asking about a small business loan for her new venture. I replied without guilt. I don't lend to family, but I can recommend a good bank. Each no felt like a weight lifting. I'd spent 34 years saying yes when I meant no, showing up when I wanted to stay home, swallowing my opinions to keep the peace. Not anymore. The family was adjusting to the new Francesca, the one who answered honestly, the one who set limits, the one who chose herself first. Some took it better than others. Dad called twice, keeping conversations short and simple, checking in. Mom went silent. Her way of punishing me, I knew. Karen texted once, asking to meet. I told her I'd let her know when I was ready. The boundaries were new, uncomfortable for everyone, but necessary. Some people would adapt, others wouldn't. Either way, I'd finally stopped waiting for permission. 2 weeks after Dubai, Aunt Linda invited me to lunch. Just us girls, she'd said. A chance to reconnect. I went, curious about her angle. She'd chosen a restaurant downtown, upscale, visible, the kind of place where people came to be seen. Linda wore her diamonds prominently, as always. Fran, darling. She kissed both my cheeks like we were in Paris. You look wonderful. Dubai agreed with you. Thanks, Aunt Linda. We ordered. Made small talk. Weather, traffic, the new shopping center being built near her house. Then she leaned forward, lowering her voice conspiratorially. I have an investment opportunity for you. Very exclusive. A friend of mine is developing a resort property in Costa Rica. Ground floor entry, 200,000 minimum. There it was. What's the return projection? She waved her hand vaguely. Oh, it's complicated to explain, but trust me, it's solid. Guaranteed to double within 3 years. Guaranteed. The word every legitimate investor avoids. I'd need to see the prospectus, I said, and have my attorney review it. Her smile flickered, just for a moment. I thought we were family, Fran. We are, which is why I want to protect both of us from a bad decision. Due diligence isn't personal. She recovered quickly, patting my hand. Of course, of course. I'll have the materials sent over. We finished lunch with careful conversation about nothing important. The prospectus never arrived. I wasn't surprised. Linda didn't want a niece. She wanted an investor too grateful or too naive to ask questions. The Thanksgiving revelation hadn't changed who she was. It had just changed her approach. Now I was worth cultivating instead of dismissing. Same motive, different mask. At least the new dynamic was honest about its dishonesty. 3 weeks before Christmas, the invitation arrived. A formal card, hand-addressed. Mom's handwriting. Traditional, like everything else about the Bennett family Christmas. Please come, Fran. We miss you. I stared at those words for a long time. The old Fran would have immediately agreed, would have smoothed things over, played nice, pretended Thanksgiving never happened, but I wasn't her anymore. I picked up my phone and called my mother. She answered on the second ring. Fran? I got your invitation. Oh, good. Relief flooded her voice. So you'll come? I'll come, on one condition. Silence. What condition? I took a breath. No more assuming, no more rumors. If anyone has a question about my life, they ask me directly. And you don't speak for me to anyone. Fran, that's not negotiable, Mom. A long pause. I could practically hear her weighing options. Pride versus having me there. That's fair, she finally said. The words sounded like they cost her something. And I sit at the main table. Of course you do. You always. No, I don't always. My voice stayed calm. But I will now. Another pause. Okay. Quieter this time. Almost humble. Then I'll be there. Fran, I am sorry. About Thanksgiving. I should have. We'll talk more in person, Mom. But thank you. I hung up before either of us could ruin it. It wasn't forgiveness. Not yet. But it was something I'd never had before. Terms. My terms. I looked at the Christmas invitation on my table. For the first time in years, I wasn't dreading the holiday. I was entering it as myself, not as the person they imagined me to be. That, I realized, was the real gift I'd given myself in Dubai. The freedom to choose. 1 week before Christmas, Karen texted, "Can we meet? Just us?" I suggested a coffee shop halfway between our neighborhoods. Neutral ground. She was already there when I arrived, sitting in a corner booth, hands wrapped around a mug. She looked different, thinner, tired in a way that makeup couldn't hide. I slid into the seat across from her. "Thanks for coming," she said. "Thanks for asking." Silence settled between us. We'd never been good at real conversation. Too many years of competition and comparison. Karen spoke first. "Derek and I are in counseling." I set down my coffee. "I'm sorry to hear that." "Don't be." She shrugged, a gesture that didn't match her eyes. "It's been a long time coming. Honestly, it should have started years ago." "What happened?" She looked at her hands. "I think I took a lot of my frustrations out on you. Over the years. It was easier than looking at my own life." "Why me?" "Because you seemed free." Her voice caught. "You didn't need a husband to validate you. You built something on your own. And I married young because Mom said that was success." I didn't know what to say. "I'm not asking you to forgive me." She finally met my eyes. "I just wanted you to know. I was wrong. About everything." I reached across the table and touched her hand. "We're sisters, Karen. That doesn't go away." She nodded, tears threatening. "But things have to be different now," I continued. "I can't go back to being invisible." "I know." Her voice was barely a whisper. "I know." We sat there for a while longer, two sisters, finally honest. It wasn't perfect, but it was a beginning. Christmas Eve. I parked on my parents' street at exactly 5 o'clock. The house glowed with string lights. Same decorations as every year, same wreath on the door. But something felt different as I walked up the path. Mom opened the door before I could knock. "You look beautiful," she said. The words came out awkward, like she was trying them on for size. "Thank you, Mom." No comment about my coat, my shoes, my still modest car in the driveway. Inside, the house smelled like roasted ham and cinnamon. Aunt Linda stood by the fireplace, avoiding my eyes. Amanda waved enthusiastically from across the room. And there, by the dining table, I saw my name card. At the main table, next to Dad. I felt something loosen in my chest. Dad appeared beside me, pulling me into a hug that lasted longer than any I could remember. "I'm proud of you, Fran," he whispered against my hair. "I should have said that years ago." "Thank you, Dad." We sat down to dinner. 12 people. Real conversation. No whispered comments, no pitying glances. Uncle Mike asked about my portfolio, genuinely curious now. I answered briefly, professionally. Karen caught my eye across the table and smiled, a small fragile thing. It wasn't perfect. The history was still there. The wounds wouldn't heal overnight. But sitting at that table, eating ham and passing dishes with my family, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. I felt seen. And that was enough. For now, it was enough. New Year's Eve. Megan and I watched fireworks from my apartment balcony. The city exploded in color below, Champagne bubbles tickled my nose. So how does it feel? Megan clinked her glass against mine. New year, new boundaries? I watched a golden burst fade into smoke. It feels like I'm finally living for myself. Any regrets about the screenshot? I thought about it, really thought. No, it wasn't about proving them wrong. It was about stopping the lie. I sipped my champagne and reminding myself that I never needed their approval in the first place. So what's next? The question opened up something in my chest. Possibility. Space I'd never allowed myself before. Next year I'm hitting 6 million, and I'm buying a house. I smiled at her surprised expression. Not an apartment, a real house, with a yard. For the dog you've always wanted? For the life I've always wanted. Below us the crowds cheered as midnight officially passed. A new year, a new chapter. I thought about Dubai, about the screenshots, about standing up for the first time in 34 years. I thought about my grandmother's words, echoing across the years. Never let anyone make you feel small. I hadn't. Not anymore. Megan raised her glass. To the life you've always wanted. To the life I've always wanted, I repeated. Fireworks exploded over Denver, and for the first time, I wasn't watching my life from the sidelines. I was finally living it. Looking back, I don't regret staying silent for so long. I built my wealth in peace, without the noise of jealousy or expectation. Every property, every deal, every dollar was mine, earned quietly while others measured success by wedding rings and zip codes. But I do regret waiting so long to set boundaries. I let them treat me like someone small because I was afraid of losing them. I sat at kids' tables and swallowed my wins and smiled through dismissals because I thought that was the price of family. It wasn't. It was just the price I was willing to pay. Until I wasn't. Here's what that Thanksgiving taught me. You can't lose people who never really had you. And you can't gain respect from people who refuse to give it. The table you're not invited to is often the table you shouldn't want to sit at. Success built in silence is still success. But silence that protects people who hurt you isn't peace. It's surrender. Now I choose my tables, I choose my people. And I never apologize for my success. If you're out there right now, waiting for your family to see your worth, stop waiting. Show yourself. And if they can't handle it, that's on them, not you. Your value isn't determined by who chooses to see it. It exists whether they acknowledge it or not. The only approval you ever needed was your own. I wish I'd learned that sooner, but I'm grateful I learned it at all. The following Thanksgiving, I hosted my own dinner. My new house, a 4-bedroom craftsman with a wraparound porch, filled with warmth and laughter. Megan arrived early with wine. Derek came with his famous cornbread. A few close friends from my investor circle brought desserts and stories. The table was set for 10. Real china, cloth napkins, candles that smelled like cinnamon and cedar. My father arrived alone. Mom wasn't feeling well. I'm glad you came, Dad. I hugged him at the door. He squeezed my shoulder. I wouldn't miss it. Karen showed up late, without Derek. They'd officially separated in October, amicably, she said. She'd started therapy. She was finding herself, one session at a time. Is there still room? She asked from the doorway. I smiled. There's always room. We gathered around the table, my chosen family mixed with the family I was slowly, carefully rebuilding. I raised my glass. To chosen family, and to the people who choose to grow. Glasses clinked, laughter rippled around the table. I looked at the faces surrounding me. Megan, my rock. Dad, finally trying. Karen, humbled and hopeful. Derek, who'd become a genuine friend. New friends who'd become essential. These were my people. This was my home. Not the one I grew up in, but the one I built. And for the first time, Thanksgiving felt exactly like what it was supposed to be. A celebration of what matters. A reminder of how far I'd come, and a promise to never forget my own worth again. And that's my story. From uninvited to unbothered, to unbreakable. If any of this resonated with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever had to set boundaries with family? How did it go? Drop your story below. And if you haven't subscribed yet, now's the perfect time. I have more stories coming. Check the description for more videos. Thank you for being here. Until next time.